see if it kicks over to Instagram. We are live. Oh, okay. We are live. Hello, hello. Today we are, oh, one moment. All right. Awesome. We are live. So, consent. Consent.
Yeah.
The girls on the internet lately have been saying we love a consensual king. I agree. We do love a consensual thing. On the tail of the years of the Me Too movement, and then the years of the masculine versus the feminine, and then the men not wanting to approach women anymore because of all of the things that are happening, people being filmed, in their approach and things of that nature. Now, today, I really want to unpack the many layers of consent. And this was inspired by a probable situation
Okay.
where a woman traveled to meet a man for the first time. And as they met up, things were great. They're dating. He's gentlemanly. Kisses are exchanged. Affection is exchanged, and things of that nature. But at some point, as they return to his abode, because she traveled to his city, they return to his abode. Again, affections are being exchanged. And he goes to take a shower. She took her shower first. He comes back downstairs as she is on the couch and she had fallen asleep. They were supposed to Netflix and chill after the shower. She falls asleep and he comes and begins to lavish her with surprise affection. Now, I'm gonna say where I'm at with this. I'm gonna give you as much detail as possible because I know this is different from a man's perspective and a woman's perspective.
Okay.
So, from additional information is that the way that they met, how like they have these different groups. They'll have different like BDSM, kink groups, and all of the things that people like to do with things. Yes.
See, that changes a lot right there.
Okay. Now we'll explore, the overall conversation of consent, but this is context for this particular situation.
Yes.
Met in one of those types of groups. And so the conversation in between her going to his city to meet him in person for the first time, there was, even though they met in those type of groups, there was no type of sexual conversation that was had.
Okay.
Conversation was just friendly, exchanging, and things of that nature. And so once she arrived, even between then, the conversations around consent were had.
Okay.
And the conversation was, if I am consenting to whatever it is, then I will, from the woman's perspective, she says that I will verbally say that this is what I want.
Okay.
Okay, so we go back to the earlier situation. And as I described, they're back at his place. She's taking a shower. He's taking a shower. He starts to lavish unverbally consented, affection. And now there is confusion.
Right.
So I have a couple of two things, and then I'm gonna stop because I want to hear what you have to say about this.
Okay.
One, on one end, I think that if a woman wants to stay the night at a man's house and him not try to have sex with her, that should absolutely be a thing.
Okay.
Thing number two, though, is from a boundaries perspective, as a woman, and this is when I was younger, I would have absolutely done stuff like that. But from this perspective, I'm like, consent happens in more than one way. And
Right.
although verbal consent is number one, to me, there was a confusion in boundaries because you're staying the night at a person's house that you do not know. So I'm going to leave it there.
Juicy, juicy right here. This is situations. Those are some plot twists that you gave me on with it. But from an overall perspective, I mean, from a male's perspective, I will say the guy, just from an overall sense, like the BDSM and all of those forms, just by me talking to different people who are in those realms, a lot of those things are based upon verbal consent. And so that's why
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying like it changes up a lot because a lot of them we talk about things into a perspective and they're more open into saying, okay, this is how things are going to go. And so from that form, if they never talked about or exchanged those forms of information, um, then yeah, she shouldn't expect to give and he shouldn't expect to receive anything if that was the agreement that it is that they had. And especially when you are in those forms and feels like certain things that people might be wanting to do that other people might not be willing to do. So just from
Mm-hmm.
perspective, that's where consent really comes in those realms. And so from that form, for him to not be consenting in that type of way, for me, it just goes into a sense that he already had an ulterior motive before when she came out there. Like that was his potential form and what he was looking to do from that perspective. Anyways, maybe the vibe and what it was that he was picking up on from her throughout the day led him to believe that that was what it is. Like
Mm-hmm.
we don't know what the conversations it is that they may have had, how she said things, and different types of stuff like that. All of those forms can play into a guy's mind because just for me, at many different stages, I'm almost 45 now, but I can think back into my 20s in those forms to where I looked at consent completely different than what I do now. And so
Yeah.
in those forms, it just takes you into a sense to where it's like, does this mean something when she said that? Do that? Is that the consent right there? Because sometimes that's as a man, that's what we're looking for is that sexual ending to that evening in those forms. So to us, that's the main thing that's on the mind is how can we say certain things in certain ways that's going to give me that confirmation that there is consent. So that's where consent comes um, in many different ways because just like how you said, like you feel like going to a guy's house and y'all being able to chill and even go to sleep at night and then him not wanting sex should be something that's okay. In my 20s, I'd have been like, hell no. Like what you come
Okay.
for? You know what I'm saying? Like nah. But there are men though that kind of present themselves in that type of way. So if you have a man that is very sexually minded in a sense, you might not want to go over his house because he might not be telling you the truth on, yeah, nah, we just on Netflix, we just gonna chill and everything like that. But he makes certain advances at you. For me, like I said, back then it was a sense to where I was like, yeah, if you come, if I fly you out, if I do this thing, you are in my mind obligated now to return certain forms of favors because that's the sense of you. I'm not saying that that's what I'm looking for, but you know that's what it is that I want in my mind. And so by
Okay.
you consenting already, you already know what time it is before you even get on the flight because why would I fly you out here for just to hold your hand and to serenade you?
Okay. And so this is a difference in the way that men and women think.
100%. Yeah.
Like when
Why would I do that? Why I can't? Why? What is the purpose? That's with a man's perspective. What am I getting out of that? Like, you're getting protection, you're getting safety, you're getting laying in the bed, feeling comfortable in all of those forms. I want my night ended in this way. And so, why can you have that type of feeling, but I can't have my feeling? So, why am I
okay.
wrong for feeling that way? If I put in work and I put in all of these forms and everything like that, like some men are like I could have went somewhere else, or I could have did something else with my time, but I put in all of this effort because in my mind, it's going in a sexual form. So I wasted my time.
Okay, so as Akila said on Instagram, is quality time. Is
Right.
quality time itself not valuable, or do men and women define quality time differently? Now, I know that you're speaking from like a 20 somethings perspective, right? I
Right.
know it's different when you have like a more a different level of consciousness plus maturity.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, I mean, whether it's 20 somethings or not, you've got men who are in their 40s and 50s who still think exactly as you are describing.
100%. But see, in those forms, again, you got to look at the that it is that you are talking to. So just like I said, conversation, like, yeah, as a mature individual, I look at that as being something very beneficial to be able to sit and converse with somebody and build mentally on those forms. And so it doesn't have to be any form of sexualness. But as men, though, at what point in time do you learn that each individual is different? You know what I'm saying? So I could tell you, like, when I thought like that, that was the main form, was that it's not like it's a every night type of thing. But if I'm going out with this individual right here and we've never done anything before, for men in those forms of sexual mindset, it's the hunt, it's the challenge. So you saying no is just, it's like a salesman. Like, what can I do to then in turn there? I don't take no for an answer. So it's just that's just right now, but that ain't gonna be in 10 minutes from now. So
Okay. I don't take no for an answer,
yeah, that's the mindset. Obviously, it's not that exactly being said, but that's
but
the
I'm about to say, but I feel like it is exactly
yeah.
okay.
That's the energy that is putting off. And so some men, like, you can be like, I've seen men just be very, very aggressive. I was more of the subtle type, to where it's like, yeah, nah, we can chill, we can do this. We can, you know what I'm saying? We can lay back and do nothing. And then from that form, though, that's where we're going into, but I'm trying to serenade you, though. I'm trying to make sure you relax a little bit more and get a little bit more comfortable in those forms.
Okay.
So again, that's where the mindset is going into this process. But typically, you get men that will let you know that before that night is there. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll
In
let
what way? In what way? Because I'll say from my experience, okay, two things. So one, someone said this mind on Instagram. Someone said this mindset is predatory.
you very much
This
so.
mindset is insane.
Absolutely,
This sounds very predatory. And
absolutely,
now what from my experience, I I have probably only met one man. And for those who are joining, we are talking about consent. I am Kiwanis. This is Johnny. For those who have just joined, we're talking about consent. I've only had one man in my experience that has been absolutely open about what this was. And then in that case, I had the opportunity to fully consent
yep,
to what was happening, even from like a woman's perspective. So I've only had one man I've ever dealt with that was like, I'm not seeking to be this with you. I am not seeking to be that. This is what we can do. This is the way my lifestyle is set up. And this is what I'm agreeing to. And even aside from the verbal aspect of it, his actions 100% mirrored what he was saying. And I've only had one person. Otherwise, anyone else, there has been ambigu. I mean, do I even want to say from a mature perspective? From a more mature perspective, I'm going to say it likely was not ambiguous. I was ambiguous,
okay,
but and also the shit was ambiguous as
How
far
so?
as like the, as you said, I'm going to call it the masking from what it seems like of wanting to spend time, but you're not saying that you're just doing this because you want to have sex. You're not saying that.
Right. Because these aren't men that's in that mindset. These are traumatized situations. And so from there, it becomes an individual who's just trying to release energy and stress. And so from that form, that's what the quest becomes, because again, there's trauma in those forms. So they don't see the predatorial forms that they're doing. They don't see the types of ways that they're manipulating individuals to draw them into doing the things that it is that they want them to do. But that's from a sexual standpoint. Like,
Mm-hmm.
women do it for luxury things, to buy them stuff and everything like that. So it just comes from two different perspectives. So it's the exact same things, but it's just from, we want two different things. So that is also a man's perspective, because they see y'all being like, we know y'all want things, and we know y'all are going to manipulate ways to get said things. Cool. Give up what we want. Y'all want, we want. So why can't we just exchange? And so from there, y'all do manipulating things. Y'all be nice to us in certain types of ways, and do things, and notice certain things, because you got a mindset of a question that it is that you're going to ask us in a couple of hours. You just serenading us into being in a way that's going to get us to do things for you. Well, I don't know, like, there's no difference in that form, but y'all just make it seem like, oh, because he want my box, that's my womb and everything like that. Yeah, that's what we want. Why is that? Y'all want stuff, we want stuff. Why is
I
what we
don't think that
want?
there is anything wrong with wanting it. I don't think there's anything wrong with anyone wanting anything.
Yeah,
I will admit that everyone wants something. No one is going to go into any situation, period, without the mindset of getting what they want from it.
absolutely.
Whether this be quality time, whether it be sex, whether it be company, whether it be love, even love. We do things because we want love. My problem with this is when what you want is not put on the table so the other person can agree.
Exactly. Yeah, that's where the immaturity process happens on both sides, where things just can't be out in the open. And just like how you say, you express things. This is what it is that I'm looking for. But a lot of these things, again, are based upon trauma. So if you're traumatized in certain situations, then you're going to be manipulating in certain forms, because you don't want people to see you for who you really are. So you're masking things just to get certain forms of energy exchange in that process. So yeah, so from there, it just goes into a sense of what a person is stressed out about, and then what they allow themselves to accept. And so in a male's perspective, that form is that manipulation, to break that consent.
Okay, so from a male, I don't even like saying male, man. From a from a man's perspective, when you said it depends on what they are stressed out about. Let's go back. Let's go back to the earlier example, because is it always stress? One. Let's go back to the earlier example of this woman meets this man in the sexually oriented community
All right.
where that was the thing. She goes to visit him in his city. They're having a great time. No conversations of sex are had at all on the phone. So her, and also, so I'm gonna take it back to what you said, because you said for the man, it's like, all right, why would I be doing all this if I'm not gonna get XYZ? She's the one who flew out. He did not pay for the plane ticket.
Mm.
She flew out. This her time. You know, they get there, he takes her out and all of that good stuff. Now, where in this situation where now she sleep on the couch and he's like, all right, she sleep. I'm going in. Where's the stress? Like,
Well, to
where's
me,
the
just
stress?
from an overall perspective, like, we're talking about this from what you said, from what the woman is expressing.
Mm-hmm.
The male may have a totally different conversation and may say,
Okay.
yeah, we did talk about sex. We was talking some of that, and the night went this way and this went this way. So things can be based upon perception, whoever's telling the story. So that's one process within. But again, that goes to show like that individual may had an ulterior motive. You know what I'm saying? So he may have been presenting himself as an individual who is, yeah, I'm about this, but in his mind, it could have been, well, she's in a BDSM chat group. She's in a sexual form of chat group. So there's already some form of sexual mindset. So she knows potentially that I want sex. So that could be where his mindset is going. He could have had some form of, ooh, she said this in this way during our date. So now it's on. So it could have been anything within his mind that was, I feel like, it was leading up into that point to where that's already before she even flew out there. That was what his mindset was, even though those words didn't verbally come out of his mouth. And so for him to do that right there, that's evident to show, like, all right, all of these things that I kept trying to say to her to get her into that point. Now we didn't get into it. Now it's just go all for nothing and see how she take it. So that
So he effing around and finding out, basically.
right. And and if she wanted, then that's what it is. If she turned around and be like rape, then my brother, you going to jail now. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
From those forms, it's whatever it is that you feel like. Are you going to do that? Are you okay with the response that's going to come back with it? You know what I'm saying?
Do
So,
you do you think that the fear of rejection plays any part in this, as far as like a person not being upfront about consent, about
oh,
what it is they really want?
oh yes, absolutely. Yeah. Fear of rejection goes into a play big time because if that person is not really saying those things, they don't really feel confident that that individual is going to accept doing those types of things. That's where you have, it's the guys, it always be the guys that's the little unattractive dude in the bar, and he go up and say the wildest things to women. And you
Mm-hmm.
be looking like, what did he just say? But it's gonna be one girl that's like, what's up? And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to find her. Are you it? Are you it? Are you it? Are you it? There you go, right there. So from those forms, it's certain things that guys can potentially try to say that get that activation of that's what brought it out of this way. You know what I'm saying? That this is what I can go on. Okay, she laughed at this a certain way, so let me go this way. So all of those certain forms can go into that perspective.
So someone said, so his fear of rejection is what made him attempt to sleep with her while she was asleep.
Now, I don't really think that it was his
Yeah,
fear of
not. Go
rejection.
ahead.
Yeah, I don't really think it would have been his fear of rejection. I think that maybe with that situation right there, it was just like, again, like I feel like his overall scheme on what he had probably from the beginning before she even flew out there was, I'm trying to make this the nightcap. And so
Mm,
whatever it was that he tried throughout the day, it failed because she was standing on, this is what I came to do. I
mm-hmm.
came to connect as a friend in all of these certain forms. And his day evening didn't go as planned. He came downstairs, she went to sleep, and now it's like, damn, I can't say nothing. I can't try and Netflix and chill, hold her here, and then put this, you know what I'm saying? Do all of these different types of things to get that caressing form and comfortableness. I can't do all of that. So she's asleep now. So now I just gotta go for everything. So he may had a fear of saying all of these things before during the day, like, man, I can't just tell her that, yo, I'm trying to have this nightcap with you. So he may had a fear of rejection during the day, but at that moment in time, he was just like, man, you know what? I'm just about to go in and go for what I know. And again, that is you gonna suffer the consequences of whatever not knowing is gonna get you into potentially. So
Yeah. The My question about the fear of rejection was less along the lines of the action that he took in that moment, but I think about, I mean, I feel like there are so many different layers that can go into it, because we talked about at times it can feel predatory.
Right.
And also like the layers of manipulation. I mentioned a fear of rejection because the question in my consciousness is what makes a person not just be upfront and honest, rather than choose manipulation rather than honesty to get what they want. And so it's like, okay, are they afraid that they will be rejected if they are honest? Do they think that going in the back door, is a more roundabout way to not experience what? And I suppose this is like, unveiling it from a man's perspective, because in many ways, women don't necessarily have to concern ourselves as much because we are not always the approacher.
Hmm. Yeah, well, again, from a different perspective, like what's the difference between a woman saying that she gonna do sexual favors for a man if you cash at me $20 and then she don't and she get the $20 and then she don't do nothing for him? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like all of these things, people do certain things and tell people certain things so that they can receive something from them in a manipulatory type of way. She could just be like, "Hey, I'm broke and I ain't got no money, and I ain't got no way to pay for things or something like that, or my light bill is about to get turned off." Like she can tell him the real, but she has to say something different because she know that she not gonna potentially get it if she just come at him on the real. And so from
Okay, I got you.
yeah, so from all of that, it just goes into a sense to where it's like people aren't potentially going to say that, but it's the quest, it's the challenge that tempts people. It's like that addiction to go on that quest to see if I can conquer this, to see if I can say the right things that gets her to submit to me. Like that is a quest that a man can go on to in a form. And sometimes again, it can be a quest of love. It can be a quest of this one night stand. It just depends on the quality of what that man is looking at you as.
Y'all men are interesting. I mean, and like you said, in different forms, in different forms, women, we do what we do to get what we want.
100.
I I do what I do to get what I want,
Yeah.
as honestly as I can.
Right.
As honestly as I can, unless I am unconscious.
Right. But on both sides, male and female, there are the ones that will do whatever it is that they need to do to get what it is that they want. Um,
Yeah.
Again, when we talk about these in this form, we are talking about a male wanting sexual energy exchange between a woman. And so, from that form, like just from an overall sense, as a male perspective, we need to have a better understanding of how that energy exchange is between y'all and why it is that y'all feel the ways that it is that you feel. We just feel conquered. We are the leaders, you follow and do. And so that's the mindset of many of these individuals who go into that form instead of understanding, well, look at them in this response. Like, you're saying certain things, and she says, I guess so. Like, that's not consent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You trying
Hmm.
to talk to her, that's just her giving into all of the things that it is that you're saying. And so, from that form, that pushes a man, okay, well, she said, she gave me access right there. So now it's this form. And then you could be going further. And now it's like she says, stop. I don't want to do this anymore. And now you like, no, you already said yes. Nah, bro. Like she, like she should be able to say stop at any point in time, and you have that control over yourself to make sure that you keep her safe in those forms. But most, I can't say most, a lot of men in certain forms aren't understanding that. And again, I'm one of those individuals that didn't understand it at a younger age myself. So,
This takes me to so many different places.
hmm
So many different places. So one, I find myself rather irritated at just the whole situation of this period. I find myself irritated because I don't, of course, this is somebody's perspective, right? I saw a post earlier that said men men set up systems. So this is probably more modern day rather than speaking tribally, because tribe in certain tribes, I feel like a woman's role or the feminine's role was understood and the masculine's role was understood, and everyone had their roles and everyone was cool in their roles. And if they weren't cool in their roles, then it was dealt with within the tribe and the community. But perhaps modern day Western living, with certain laws that were created so that women could not work and so that women could not provide for themselves, it set the man up as the provider.
Right.
And so then you got, what are we, maybe like a couple of generations removed from that, perhaps, because there was a time where women had to be out there doing the same damn things because ain't nobody had shit.
Right.
And so everybody, had to be working and contributing and things of that nature. And I mean, I see the backlash of this on both sides, but it's it irritates me to a point of where this conversation is even necessary, because when a woman says I guess so and a man takes that as a yes, it's like from a woman's standpoint, it's like, am I safe if I just say no?
Right.
And
Right.
so we've got this now we got confusion on both parts, because I guess so is not a full no. And now the man has to read the I guess so and read into the body language rather than a woman feeling safe saying no.
Right. Well, I mean, if a woman is saying "I guess so" to one of the guy's answers, then I'd imagine that the guy that asked her about 5, 6 different ways already before, so he already read the different forms of answers that she was rejecting him on before he got the "I guess so" answer anyway. So long before it gets to "I guess so," he already understand that he's trying to work into a "I guess so." So I
Mm-hmm.
guess so is like, ooh, that's my end for him on that form. But I mean, just to speak on what you were saying about from a woman's perspective of not feeling safe being saying no, like again, that's something that a man needs to really understand, is that a woman in certain forms, they feel like their safety is taken away to a point to where they feel uncomfortable with saying no to you in that
Mm-hmm.
situation. But in those instances, like it, it's interesting to me because I try to think about like men that I know in those forms, and just aggressive type of men, or men who with respect, just all in those forms. And I really don't know those type of men that's just that form of manipulation like that. So
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like if I was around any of those types of men in those forms, I would check that. You know what I'm saying? That's where
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of situations in certain forms and times, like things have evolved into a different process to where it's like we as men, we need to start understanding different forms of perspectives on how women feel. But at the same time, women need to start understanding and accepting things that we feel in certain forms and senses. So all of these things just need to be more transparent. But the overall form of consent, again, that it's just different, because when we think of consent, just from a general sense, we think of men having women consent for sexual forms of pleasures. But again,
Mm-hmm.
consent is so many different types of ways. Um,
Yeah.
so men can say no. It To me, it goes into wanting women wanting money, and men can say no in so many different types of ways. I ain't got it. I don't want to, or whatever. And a woman is trying to say certain things that she can say to get that man consenting to giving her what it is that she wants. And so sometimes women will throw themselves sexually at men in order for them to consent on paying something for them. So it goes in different forms and ways. And so a lot of, like I said, a lot of times that's where some men go into it, because it's like, man, I see your motive. You acting like you don't see your motive. I see your motive. And so
Yeah.
I see your motive. I'm going to speak to you in this way. And just because you didn't come out and verbally say it, now I said it to you. So now I get to look bad like you weren't trying to do that. But you were presenting yourself in ways that obviously allowed me to see that that's what you wanted to. So it can go so many different types of ways.
Okay. Okay. This is a perfect segue. Someone said, so when did intimacy become transactional? That wasn't the segue, but I want to
Right.
hit on that real quick before we move into more consciousness. When did intimacy become transactional?
Right. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be at all transactional, but it seems like that's what it has turned out to be, because of the fact that so many people feel threatened. Like the man, we feel threatened. Like, okay, this woman comes and she's trying to take everything of mine,
Mm-hmm.
and then this woman feels like, oh, he just wants sex. He's just gonna leave me alone, and he just gonna manipulate me in certain forms. So everybody's coming with these forms of fears. So now it's like men are like, yeah, well, I don't want to be serious because I don't want to get manipulated in those forms for you giving you everything that it is that I have. A woman is saying the same thing on the opposite side. Well, I don't want to give you my body because I don't know how you're going to utilize it from a certain form. So that's where transactions come into play. So it's like, well, what do you have? What do you have to offer that I can exchange this form of energy to give it to you? How is it worth your my time? So that's where it becomes now prove me, prove this, show me that
Yeah.
I'm different than all of the other guys who did this stuff to me. And it's like the guy's perspective, nah, I'm not proving nothing. Like I'm me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to prove all the other guys had it wrong. I'm just trying to come in, not deal with certain forms of traumas and the threats that you had from the last guy.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like when you have not settled into maturity of your own consciousness,
Right.
then everything in your life is going to feel transactional. Friendships, intimacy, every relationship with your children, with everybody.
Right.
And speaking from personal experience, that's something that I had to notice within myself as I decided over time. I was like, all right, thinking about partnership again, but I noticed how transactional my thoughts were.
Right.
And it's something I had to check within myself and my consciousness, because I'm like, one, I hate the phrase, what do you bring to the table? I really just cannot stand that phrase. It's so ignorant.
Right.
But also, as you said, with like a woman wanting a man to prove something, I realized that, like, for me, the transactionality was in that. And it was like, all right, well, he gonna need to da 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 before
Right.
I even da da da. He needs to da da da. And as I sat with that, I was like, okay, if you are giving nothing, and
Right.
the giving doesn't even have to be physical. It's like you're not even willing to give yourself enough of your energy for that person to feel inspired enough to then give some of their energy, and then you get some of yours, and then they give some of theirs. So it's, I mean, honestly, I would say, is there a way for it not to be transactional in a way when it is an exchange? Is
I,
there a different word to use when when it has to be an exchange period?
well, I just think everything just needs to be more open. Good. So if people are communicating more, like that's the main problem is that people don't have a level of communication that exists because of certain forms of trauma based mindsets of rejection. You know what I'm saying? Of me being me and who it is that I am. So just from an overall general sense, like people can't communicate and say, this is what it is that I like to do. Sometimes what it is that the individual may like to do at that point in time is based upon their traumas. But then once they get peace and clarity, everything just may change for them. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of things that kind of go into those forms, but people aren't talking and communicating and expressing themselves because they feel like they're going to get some form of rejection. So
Mm-hmm.
if everybody is in fear of rejection or fear of I'm going to say the wrong thing, fear of I'm going to uh, do this wrong thing. Like, am I gonna get canceled? Is she gonna put me on blast? Is this gonna happen? Is he gonna show me off on this? Is that, you know what I'm saying? All of these possibilities now that it goes into a form to where it's like, hey, we need a non-disclosure agreement. We need an NDA
Mm.
like that so that I can know that everything is behind this. Then now we could do whatever it is that you want because I know that there is freedom of consent, of exchange that it is that we've talked about from a connecting way, and it's not going to get out past. So so all of this stuff is all it's media based, just like how you said it's from people changing up the rules of how you work in society. It's ran off of based upon control. It's ran off of based of dominance. It's capitalism in forms. All of those things go into the process of where people have these fears and they're not just able to express with each other.
So you would have a woman sign an NDA?
Nah, absolutely. Nah, absolutely not. Nah, I feel like any of those forms though, it's just like you nowadays I'm saying like you consider doing those types of things because you
Mm-hmm.
don't know the type of people that you're meeting. Especially nowadays, like most people they're meeting online so much more.
Mm-hmm.
So you're seeing a person describe themselves through their pictures, through the best points of their lives and things like that. So you're meeting an individual that you think is a certain way. And then once you see them, they might not have it like that, like you think they got. So all of these
Mm.
things that go into sense to where people aren't being real with who they are just from a general sense.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys be looking and we be like, man, if you lying to you and I see you lying to you, just because you don't know you lying to you, why can't I lie to you too?
Mm.
So it's you're lying to you by thinking that all of that stuff that you're saying is reality and it's not. So I'm gonna just add on to it and say what it is that you saying that you believe when I know you don't believe it because I'm listening to you in real time explain yourself completely different than what the project or perspective that you have of yourself is in your.
Mm. And so at the end of the day, a guy, a person, I mean, period, especially when you're meeting someone online, and the situation I described, this was online, right?
Right.
But say you're meeting someone online, and as you said, they are not what they appear to be. I feel like it's different levels. I feel like it's different levels to that. So, one, I feel like it depends on your perception of online things, period.
Right.
Because I'm going to assume off rip that what I see is not what's real
Not
because
100.
the online stuff, it's a persona.
100%.
It's a
Yeah.
persona. But now, as you said, if the person believes that the persona, online or not, if who they believe they are does not align with who they actually are, so who they think they are in their head is not aligning with who they are. At the end of the day, there's a discrepancy in character, intention, and all that good stuff. You present a certain person to a certain self to the other person, and then at the end of the day, once they get to know who you really are, they could say, I did not consent to this.
Mm, that is true. Yeah, being like, yeah, the person that you represented, you was showing me your representative, and now I see the
Mm-hmm.
actual individual that you are. I didn't sign up for this individual right here. So it's everything, man. It's we're dealing with some new times and ways to respond because we get so many forms of information downloaded to us in different types of ways.
Mm-hmm.
So consent is just one portion of it, but it's something that's very, very big to touch on because like I would say, I feel as though from a woman's perspective. So let me ask you, like, what do you feel like consent is that women lack of in consent towards men? So because we see that it's more so sexual based when it comes to men
Hmm.
going towards women. So what would you say is a perspective of that women don't give consent of men, or is there anything like that?
I'm pretty sure there is. I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
personal experiences.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of personal experiences because I surely do not mind telling on myself. I'm trying to think of different ways. You know what? I will say, I know that this is not every woman. I can only speak to myself, but I will say that in my experiences prior to maturity, and maybe a little bit now, there is sometimes a level of assumptiveness,
A what?
of assumptive, being assumptive,
Okay.
of what do I want to say?
That they're supposed to court you, assumption type of thing.
Okay, that's a good place to take it. The assumptions of what a man is supposed to do.
Hmm.
And I mean, this connects, everything connects to childhood. For me, this connects to the man that my father is, what I saw my mother experience. I've never, growing up, I never saw my mom with a man who did not take care of her.
Right.
She worked, of course, but she didn't pay like the norm. She didn't do the regular household bills, but she worked and she contributed, but she was not the primary. And my father is a provider, straight up. I feel like he's a Capricorn. So he just slowed down on working and things of that nature. So my assumption with any person that I've ever dealt with is that you will be the way that my father was, the positive aspects. Because I always say that Capricorns are cheaters, cheating ass Capricorns. And so, the positive aspects. So those were conversations I did not feel like I had to have.
Right.
So I would get into a situation, and my assumption is that this is what it's going to be. And then later down the line, the conversation was, this is not what we never agreed on this. This is not what we talked about. And so the person did not consent to showing up in my life in this way. And now I'm pissed off because I didn't get, because I'm giving. It's from, if we look at it from a man's, from a sexual perspective, from a woman's or my perspective, I'm giving nurturance. I'm giving time. I'm giving care. I'm cooking. I'm supporting. And I'm doing all of these things because in return, I am expecting a certain level of provision.
Right.
And when I don't receive it, now I'm pissed off.
So, do you feel like at any point in time that that individual was showing you anything different than what it is that you thought? And do you feel like at some point in time your ego was trying to control certain things to get him to be a person that he may not have wanted to be?
Oh, absolutely. Look, 100%. 100%. This is actually where I wanted to go because we're almost at an hour. I
Mhm.
wanted to go into the consciousness of this, where on one layer we do have consent that is necessary, but on the other layer we've got like the energetic, where your boundaries will attract a certain person. The
Right.
holes in your operation attract a certain type of person. So even though, as we're not talking about like from a sexual aspect, like talking about from this side of it,
Mhm.
even though communication maybe would have showed me from out the gate, if I'm like, hey dude, these are my expectations.
Right.
I was not in a place where I felt courageous enough. One, courageous enough, but two, I also was not in the habit of communicating my expectations in that way. That's just not something that I did. My habit was to do certain things and exhibit certain behaviors so that I would get what I wanted.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Yes. I feel like that's one powerful thing, though, is like if two individuals can come together and at the beginning of the forum being asking them, okay, where you want to be? how do you see yourself in the future? What do you feel
Mm-hmm.
like how can we grow? How is how were you raised? What type of job did your father have? Did you know your mother? Did you know your father? What were these types of situations? Did you see violent situations between your mother and father? How was their
Mm-hmm.
interactions with each other? And if you could, a person could say, yes, I didn't have my mother, or I didn't have my father there, or something like that. Or, yeah, my mother and father were there and he was very abusive to them. Like, that's understanding in that form. But now the next question is, how did you get over that? How do you feel about that? You know what I'm saying? Like what do you feel about him doing that to your mother? And
Mm-hmm.
get to see how he responds into those ways. Maybe he will respond into a way to where it's like, well, she had it coming. And it's like, oh, okay, how do I want to now be with this man? You know what I'm saying? And seeing if he says, okay, well, yeah, no, that was wrong, and I don't like my father anymore, and this and this and this. That just because you don't like your father for what it is that he did doesn't mean that you're not going to become him. So how is it that you understand that doing these different types of things were wrong? Like express in these points. Same thing with a woman. If it's, yeah, I didn't have my father growing. Okay, so how does that make you feel? Like, do you like your father now? How do you have you gotten over the fact that he wasn't in your life? And if she says, no, I hate, then my brother, you might have some situations that may be going on to where you might not want to get with that because she's still not over the
You
thing,
might want to think
the
about that.
main man of her life. So you never gonna break through from that, and all of his pain that he caused is now about to come on to you, and you about to get blamed for everything. And so from those forms, it's like both sides got to look at these situations and really see what they're dealing with. And if if an individual does it, it's like I don't want to be lonely. I don't want to. I want love. I really like this person or something like that. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? It could be maybe I haven't gotten over it, but hey, are you willing to help me get over it? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like that could be something from a form of sense. So it's so many different ways, but communication is the number one thing, and being able to be open with that. And I think that people have so many fears of themselves that they don't want to ask another person a question.
Yeah. Yeah. It can even be certain, certain situations that makes a person not ask certain questions. It makes me think about in one of the last relationships I was in, I was a question asking fool. I'm asking I'm asking questions about everything because in order for me to fully consent to this relationship and be in full agreement of what's happening, I need to know certain things about you.
Yeah.
I need to know these things. And the person said, "Why are you prying?"
Mm.
That was the response that I met with. "You so nosy. Why are you prying?" And I'm like, "So I'm just supposed to fuck around and find out?" you know?
So again, that person just lets you know that you're not that important for me to tell you all of these. You know what I mean? Like that's
Mm,
where the mindset is. It's like, yo, I'm not telling you this because I want to keep secrets of things. I want to keep
mm,
this in a certain form and situation. Don't worry about that. It's not we're not connected like that for me to tell you those things. Because if I'm open in a certain form and we're vibing, we're connecting, then it's yeah, this is this, this is this. Now, if you asking me real personal questions, you know what I'm saying, and we may not be there yet, then it's like, hold on, like let's just get to know each other from a friend's perspective. You sounding like you trying to ask for my account number, something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
okay, so let me ask you this. What questions are okay and what questions are not okay? What is a personal question when you're even from a friend's perspective? Because I know that we can't necessarily. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to backtrack on what I'm about to say. What I was about to say was that I know that we can't necessarily treat relationships between man and woman the same as we treat relationships woman to woman is what I was about to say. But from a friendship perspective, I look at the way that I cultivate relationships with women, like new friendships, and no questions are too much. There's no such thing as a question that I can't ask.
Right.
And there's no such thing as too deep. So then you take that into cultivating a relationship with a man when you don't even know whether there's going to be anything or not. You're just seeing if a friendship is even there.
Right.
What is a question that's too much in that case? If you are just seeing if a friendship is there.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends on the individual. Like as a man, like you could be like, yo, you feeling all right? And for us, we talked it, why? Why is you asking me that? Like if another man is asking you, it's like, well, yo, I'm good. Everything is all right. That's just in our form and nature just to be in those types of ways of I don't want that type of communication and exchange. Women do it more openly because again, y'all are more in a free flowing. We look at everything as protection. We trying to protect y'all so that y'all can be free, so that y'all can do all of these different types of things. So women just have a natural form of freedom in that sense. And as a man, we have the natural form. Well, I gotta create the space for that expansion in that process because I want that type of energy with this individual. And so that's what it is that she wants is freedom to expand and do these types of things. So from that form, it's always like that's that exchange. I feel like when you try to exchange with a man and that man gives you that response, then you can take that as well, that's where the boundary stops.
Mm.
This is what, and why can't that be cool? Why I gotta tell you something? Why we can't just be right here? That's why I just kept you at, just like a woman. Why can't we just be in the friend zone? Why
Okay.
I'm trying
Okay.
to hit it. Nah, you a friend. Why are you trying to ask me all of these questions? That's not your questions to ask me right here. We are a basketball game talking questions. We talk about what was on the news. We don't talk about what my life consisted of. We talk about what we saw on the internet today. We don't talk
Okay.
personal stuff.
Okay. So I'm gonna. So are you saying essentially? Well, I'll say the way that I'm taking this is when it comes to that sort of thing, and where we say like the boundaries start and stop.
Mhm.
It's going to be on a case by case basis,
Right.
and it's going to be according to what each person desires, values, finds important. Because I'll say for me, if I bump into a man who is not willing to tell me his life story on day one, it's not even that I want to know your life story on day one.
Mhm.
I don't even want to know. It's the willingness.
Right. But the thing about it though is goes back to what it is that we said we are attracted to and magnetized to what we are. So in certain forms, there are aspects of yourself and the individual that you are connected to. So in a lot of forms, it's a polarity in that process, and it's if for me, if I hear the situation from the two individuals, I can easily be like, okay, that's where both of y'all are doing the same thing to each other. Y'all are just defining it as something totally different. But the same type of energy that you are expressing towards him that you don't want from him, you are doing the same exact thing. It's just
Okay.
from a different perspective, and we view it from a
Mm.
different form. And so y'all two got together from the fact that y'all energies are aligned in a certain type of way. So
Okay.
in that form, like that's the main thing with that process. So, and that's one thing that a lot of individuals don't really like to hear or think about and see because everybody wants to be the victim of a situation and be like, man, I was the one who was wronged in this situation. It was them who did this to me. how could you do this to me? And
Hmm.
from that form, that's again, it's anger, egotistical biasness on both sides. That's not seeing the bigger picture of y'all got together because y'all's energy attracted that way.
Okay. It makes sense. That takes me back to again our the first example in the situation, because with the woman going to his house, because like I said, when I look at this from a spiritual or an energetic perspective, regardless of what was said, to me, her actions did not align with what she was saying. So she's saying, if I want to do XYZ, I'm gonna give verbal consent and things of that nature. But you're kissing on the man. And kisses are okay. Kisses are fine. But also the fact that you showed up and stayed at this person's house. For me, if I am 100% in my boundary about I am not going to do XYZ, it's like it's like you going to IHOP and saying, "I'm going to go here, but I ain't going to eat no breakfast. But I'm going to go where they serve breakfast, but I ain't going to eat no breakfast." And you surrounded by breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And you could very well go and not eat breakfast. But if you did not want breakfast,
Why did you go?
why did you go to IHOP?
Right. Yeah, I mean that goes into a sense like like the Mike Tyson situation when he got arrested back in the day. Like that
Hmm.
was kind of that same thing to where he was like, "Yo, I don't have to take that away from a woman. Like I get consent from this process." And
Hmm.
so that was the thing. You went up to Mike Tyson's hotel room at nighttime by yourself. Like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, that's the mindset where things happen in certain forms, but we don't know what it is that they were exchanging before they
Yeah.
exchanging kisses, certain forms of relation. They could have consented before they even got to the room itself. But from those forms, it's like that kiss, the kissing right there. I didn't even realize you said that. Maybe you said that before, but the kissing right there, yes, that from an overall sense, I can see why the individual went down and did that from those forms because there are certain forms of sexual connections that a man is going to think about that he's going to accept it from those forms unless they truly genuinely put it out there like, yo, we not doing nothing, I'm just coming down here just to come down here, and all of these forms and everything is based upon verbal consent from that process. Yes, then that wasn't accurate in those forms, especially if everything was laid out in that form. But yeah, I don't know how much I actually believe that. I would have to investigate myself. I would have to come in and play the bad cop. Like, so you say you ain't say nothing to him, huh? He didn't know nothing about the fact that, or you told him fully that he wasn't getting it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would have to investigate him on that situation. But it, anywhere it goes, man, communication is certain form, and again, energy connects people to certain ways. So you just got to be careful on who you are connecting your energy with.
Yeah. Yeah. It just, on all parts, it just makes me think about, I feel like it goes back to consciousness. It goes back to knowing yourself. I look at certain situations where, as a woman, I was unclear, hella unclear. My mouth saying one thing, my body saying another one. But then in the situation, it's like, do I like this? Do I not like it? Do I want it? Is it okay to just say no now? Wait, do I want to say no? It's when your own energy is confused. And at the end of the day, anyone has the right to stop in the middle of anything and say no. You know, I just from the consciousness perspective, I just think it goes down to a matter of everyone exhibiting levels of self control on all levels.
All
Like, as a man, um, learning to control your urges, your impulses. As a woman, really getting grounded with your boundaries, and setting in cases like that, and in any case, putting ourselves in situations, not putting ourselves in situations where a boundary will be violated. Now, sometimes people do things outside of consent again, but there is a certain level of control that we do have over situations.
yeah. Well, I agree with that, and again, I feel as though that men need to set boundaries as well, because if it's boundaries that women aren't setting, then logically on the opposite side is boundaries that men aren't setting as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so if women are getting violated in those forms, it's men that's getting violated too in the same process. So again, it's
Mm-hmm.
getting expressed in a different form and type of way. But yeah, it is the the because we're highlighting that the boundaries for women on those forms, as men we don't understand it from a collective point. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't understand that women are, they have these type of boundaries that we need to respect from an overall sense. I think that that's something that has really gone misaligned in a certain form, in a sense, just to keep it on that perspective.
What is there not to understand?
What you mean?
You said collectively men don't understand that women have certain boundaries that need to be respected. What is misunderstood?
Well, we're not respecting those boundaries. That's what I'm saying. It's like we're not actually acknowledging the fact, because, like I said, the things that I knew back then when I was a young 25-year-old, things that I thought, now I see things and now I'm like, damn, like that's actually you kind of persuading and trying to manipulate this person into doing certain things. So
Okay.
being able to have that mature mindset, talk to men, because I don't think a lot of men actually realize that, yo, this is a certain form. And I think that it's realized, but I think that it's not highlighted, that it's like, yo, you're doing this from these forms and that needs to stop.
Okay. And then folks go into denial about why they doing something. Like, no, I ain't doing that because of da.
Absolutely. And it's like, yes, you are doing that because of that. And men like us, we need to call that out on those forms, because it's like, yo, you need to be disciplined on that process. But in a lot of cases, though, it's it's levels to it. So just like how you said, it's a 40-year-old that may be doing it, but most of the time it's individuals, men go through a process of that, whether they 15, 16 and into their 20s and they stop or just keep going for them. But it goes
Mm.
through a process to where it's like, ooh, I want to have these certain forms of aggression. Now, are we to be taught at a much younger age? Like, listen, man, like now just by me thinking that, men, it's if my daughter has sex at 15, I'm screaming, but if my son does, it's like, yo, give me some. You know what I'm saying? So from there, it's a different perspective on what it is that we have, even from back then, to where we need to be able to teach our young men to have discipline over who it is that they're sleeping with from those forms. So
Okay. Yeah, I feel like this is a never-ending conversation.
right, it can go so many different
It's a
places.
it's a never-ending conversation because at the end of the day, the only thing that we can do about it, I feel like this is, well, multi-levels. One, an individual consciousness thing at the end of the day, because you can teach all day, you can talk about it all day, but if when a person has a lack consciousness,
Right.
I'm going to say, lack consciousness, something's missing. There's a void, there's a hole. They're gonna try and get what they want.
It's a blockage of energy, and at certain points in time, as I said, trauma allows you to accept certain things of doing certain things, and to get your quest of whatever it is that you want, because you begin to, the first thing that you do before you manipulate the other person, you manipulate your own self to actually pursue that situation in that way. So from there, you have to tell yourself that I accept doing this to this person, and I'm justifying why I'm doing those cases. And
Hmm.
so in that form, I justify, manipulate my own mind that gets me to accept doing that. And now that could have been the first time with the first person, and now you 10 people in. And so now it's numb to me just to do this to any point in form.
It's habitual. It
Yeah,
becomes habitual.
exactly. Yep. And so from that point, now for me to conquer that quest is the goal. So now that's the high, is to actually figure out what it is that is I can say to open up that door for that. So
This is just so interesting. This conversation has made me much more aware in my now 37 years of life.
yes,
Has made me much more aware that we really do not know how the the other sex thinks. We really don't.
mm, yes. Well, like I said, likewise on the other side, we really don't know how y'all think,
I
and
see. I
it,
see. Because I'm over here like, why would you assume sex is on the table? Like,
and we are like, why would you not? Why why would you not? Why would I, what reason would I be doing all of this for you for? So I can say have a good night, make sure you get home, and then I can walk down your steps and be like, man, gosh, I really like that girl.
because you like me. Yes.
Oh, oh, no. I'm trying to get something. I'm trying to see what's good. I'm trying to end this night off. And then after,
Because you really just enjoy my company and I'm funny and
yes,
you like being around me.
now I'm trying to let you know how much I like being around you. Yes, now I'm trying to let you know. So no, I'm not flying you out here with all of this stuff and doing all of these types of things. But again, no, you should be able to say, "Hey, listen, I'm flying you out here. This is the plans. We gonna go out, we gonna chill, we gonna kick it, and then we gonna wind our night down, and we gonna have this type of night. You
You
with that?
know what?
You with that?
I just think that's a-okay. I think
Yes,
because again, it gives people the opportunity to consent. If a man is like, all right, look, I'm about to fly you out. We gonna do XYZ. You know we fucking right.
yes. And
I
and
would be like,
you though,
do I want
if
to fly?
women if women be like, oh no, that's not my thing, that's not what I'm doing, then either it's gonna be a whole lot more rejections, or I'm trying to tell you, if that's what that man is saying and you still go out there, even though the man be like, all right, cool, that's all good, man, you better know that he is still on it. Like if he
I
said that
mean,
he's on it and that's the form, then he is still on it.
it's
But
working. It's working for people because it does work for people. And I think that even from a woman's perspective, like I think about my younger self and I wonder what would have happened if I would have been like, hey, I'm down to operate in this role, but these are my expectations. I
right,
wonder what would have happened if I was like, my expectation is for you to do one, two, three, four, and five. I probably would have saved myself a whole lot of heartache and not been doing the things I was doing.
right. But then in certain instances, though, a woman that probably would have had sex with you had you not said nothing about it, you could tell her that and she'd be like, what you think I am, a hoe? And it's like, but she probably was gonna do it if you didn't say it up top and you just serenaded her and just fell into it.
You
So
playing roulette,
just
man. You're
go
playing Russian roulette.
really just go into how it is that the woman that you're approaching, what she on, and just be just understand that you might shoot some shots that you're gonna miss, but just do your thing in a open forum and make sure the person has that consent.
I think that this is also where patience is necessary in some aspects because some people, and also it depends on the type of person that you're dealing with. And again, you don't, sometimes you don't know until you know. There's no way to have this perfect because
Right,
in some cases, it's like, all right, sometimes you just need to see what the person is going to do naturally. Maybe I don't need to say
right.
that I'm expecting you to XYZ. I'm just give it some time to see if this is even who you are.
Yes. I used to plant seeds. So I used to have different girls on different stages. It's like, yeah, this the talking stage, girl. So we just talking. That's cool. But then I got this one girl we date a little bit. I got this one right here. I can call up and it's all good. So when you have different stages of different things, it makes it a little bit easier to accept the person as to where it is that she at. So those can be different forms as well. Is don't try to have yourself into one form and one process to where it's like, yo, I'm trying to conquer this. Because you can just say, okay, that's cool. She not gonna do that. I can go to talk to my one friend that will do that. And so whatever the process may be, it's so many options, it's so many perspectives, it's so many different types of ways that it is. But I just say consent, just like how we said, that's the number one.
Yeah, all
Just make sure
around.
that person is down with it, make sure they cool with it, because you don't want them problems if they not.
You do not want them problems.
For
We
sure.
done seen what those problems do.
Oh, we done seen they do too many times, boy. So and even like from a perspective, so I'm a male that at the age of 18, right when I turned 18, like 3 days after my 18th birthday, I almost went to jail for statutory rape because of the fact that I had sex at a birthday party with a girl who was turning 16 2 weeks later. And so from that time, it was like a 2.5 week time to where it was like I'm too old and she too young. And so from that process, it turned into this big thing because I was a basketball player and there was this whole controversy over all of that. So for me, from 18, I knew, hold on, you got to see what this person is, who she is, where she at, where she come from, her story, her background before you get into that process. Because like I said, 3 days after I became an adult, I figured out what that was like. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. So what she tell on you? She told somebody?
So after that night, basically she came to my locker and was like, yo, I tried to, because this was back pagers and everything. This was in '99. So she's like, yo, I've been paging you all weekend and you ain't respond to me. Like,
Niggas had a pager.
yeah, she was like, I've been paging you all weekend. You ain't respond. I'm like, why would I respond? Like, what you mean? And she was like, yo, we're together now. And I was like, no, like, nah, we not together. And so then from that form, it was basically like this was before school. Like she was at my locker that Monday right before school. And so we talking. And when I told her that, like she walked away like, okay, okay, we.
Damn. She was trying to get you caught up.
And so then that night, yep. So then that night, like I said, I just had two police officers at my house after practice. Yeah.
We called the
That's funny.
police.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. Because then I had to sit because like all of these police officers, they all are security guards at our game. So all of these guys know exactly who I am and all of this stuff. And so, in my perspective, I'm like, man, she came to the party. We went upstairs laughing. We came downstairs laughing. We sat there laughing. Everybody was talking, laughing. Everybody in the party knew what was up. And everybody knew. So, I'm not going to jail for that. Like, can't nobody, like, I'm untouchable. And so I'm like, man, whatever it is, it's a whole bunch of people in that party that say differently. So I am not thinking about what that girl said. I can show you all of these messages, all of this stuff. Once I got down to the police station, it was like, nah, don't none of that stuff matter because she's 15, you just turned 18. So technically, that's this. And her mother had her when she was 16. And so her mother was like that some guy who was the star of her school got her pregnant. He never got in trouble. So I was gonna pay for what.
Dang.
Yes. So
Dang, that's
it was
messed
crazy
up.
to me. It was crazy. But all in all, she ended up like all of my friends, like my homegirls and all of that, they was like, man, you better tell your mother what really happened. So she told her mother what really happened and everything. And then it just kind of canceled itself out from there. But yeah, so that's where consent for me, again, at 18, I knew what time
Yeah.
out here for different situations. So it kind of is what it is.
Wow. Damn. Yeah, you had to get that one young.
Young, very young. Like that's what I said. I put perspectives into situations that I've had, and I've had a lot of situations to where it's like, man, you will not believe this story or how this happened. But yeah,
I'm amazed at the fact that nigga, you got a pager.
pager. Yes, yes. This was '99. I turned 18 in '99. So
Wow.
so this was pager time. This was beeper time right there. So yeah, she had pager.
Beepers. You got a color beeper? What color your beeper was?
I had like a maroon one. I know I had a black one. But see, you had to have the forms to where it's like during my times when pagers was really in, you had the voicemail on it and everything like that. So it was like you could leave me a message and everything. So you would have the song playing in the background, and then you come on like, yeah, what's up, this Johnny. Leave me a message. So yeah, then you check your message, you check your beeping message and see who it is and everything like that. But yeah, I had a stylish beeper.
That's crazy. These children today will never know.
Not at all.
They will never know pager life.
Not at all.
Um,
Stop at the payphone, putting in a quarter just to see who hit you up.
Listen, we were playing hood charades
Yeah.
at one of my birthday parties on Saturday, and my daughter and her friend were there. So they were pulling cards, and one of the cards that came up was the yellow pages. I didn't know what it was at first. She pulled the card. She was like, I don't even know what this is. I was like, girl, let me see what that is. It said the yellow pages. I was like, wow.
Do they even sell? I think they still get them out though.
Do they?
I think so. I like maybe a year or two, a couple of years ago, I had seen some somewhere, but it's not like you might have to request it or something like that. But they definitely, I've seen them. Like I think at one of my offices that I was at, they had brought them up there.
Bro, think about that. Anybody, you could find anybody's phone number in there
Yes.
and
Well,
just call them up.
a lot of times though, you can request not to have your name and number in there though. So it just really depends. Like you guys, people used to call and just like, yeah, I don't want my name and number in there. And so, but you would have to do that to get it out. But sure, I remember um, printing out maps and map books,
Mm-hmm.
that stuff, and highlighting and everything, and being like, all right, number 3 said get on I-95 and go 45 miles. What's so so
Yeah.
it's so many things that done changed up in the forms, even internet, the dial up, all of that stuff. So that's what I'm saying. So many things are changing rapidly now.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like stuff that we had 2 years ago is so outdated to where,
Yes.
or it was 15 years that's outdated. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like, man, that was 2025, dude. Like that stuff is so like so much more upgraded now. So we
Mm-hmm.
get things fast, we get input fast, and so
Mm-hmm.
it processes fast. And for us, the natural thing to do is to protect. And so
Mm.
that's where all of these fears come out, and that's where it comes into a show me that you're different than somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah,
Yeah, I also think as you speak to the speed at which things happen and the speed at which things have been changing, one, the same thing with our consciousness, two, the same thing with the way that we relate to one another as in partnership, in relationships, period. The way that we relate to one another, what is societally acceptable, because even when we were growing up, there were certain ways that our parents related to us that would actually, they can go to jail for now,
Uh,
which would be abuse.
yes.
And so, which was abuse, but now we're labeling it as abuse.
Right.
So even in the ways that we communicate with one another, what is deemed as consent and what is not, how to interact, the layers of communication and levels of communication, these things have always been necessary, but we're in a space where what is acceptable is different. And I feel like people are having to catch up because this is a new generation of what is being asked
Right.
is different. Although these things should have always been in place because we are human beings,
Right.
but what is being asked of us as we relate to one another is much different.
Yeah. The expectations of everybody now is just completely different. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but from a standpoint, are we changing the expectations to get back into a balanced form? Because just like how you said that there were certain ways that male forms may be dominating. So, in order to get into a balanced form, things are going to be shaken up completely. You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to be shaken up to a point to where it's going to be so many unorthodox things that you have to bring order from all of that chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So things are going to get more chaotic before they get actually better because it's
Mm.
certain forms that say, okay, enough is enough. And so, yeah, it's just like how we were talking about with the WNBA and how they were saying, like, all right, now we can allow trans women in. And so then from there, these men are like, now I want to go in there. Then since all you got to do is say you're a woman. So creating all of these forms of chaos and they come in and create chaos. So you may look at them
Mm.
like they bad, but nah, they're actually creating order out of it. And so from
Mm.
that form, it's like they're noticing loopholes to be filled. And so
Mm-hmm.
it just all depends on how you look at it from a plain viewpoint or from a galactic spiritual standpoint.
Yeah. It's how we have conversations about creating the ops, like
Yep.
the necessary opposition. I can see it as that.
Yep. Create form. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what they're doing from that whole form. They're creating certain forms of controversy to create more visual eyes on the product and things of that nature. So those two
Mm-hmm.
guys might be a part of that. From a sense to where they get paid by the WNBA to create this controversy, that which then in turn creates more eyes, which then attaches people to women's basketball more because it's like,
Mm.
get out of here, men. You know what I'm saying? So from there, you gravitate, wrap to them because you want that negativity out of there. And so make a new form of product on who supports you based upon them helping you get out of a situation.
Yeah. All righty. All righty. We are way beyond time.
Yeah, we went.
Yeah, we've been yapping. We are way beyond time for the day. Coming up, we have a retreat in Arizona, January 7th through the 10th, the Healers Asylum, the Connection Experience. There are 4 spaces left. Um, Johnny, what you got going on?
Uh, I have my normal energy work going on. I got a course coming up September 14th for individuals who are looking to connect, understand how to relieve symptoms, how to get to root causes of specific ailments in the body, and how to do those from a remote form. So go to my website and check that out if you are interested.
All righty. Okay, we will see y'all next time. Thank you for tuning in. This will be live on YouTube for the replay. And y'all have a good evening. Bye bye.
Peace.